further ado, let's move into the DraftKings part of the show here. What we're going to do that's a little bit different from the FanDuel one is obviously due to DraftKings guidelines and our guidelines. We cannot give you full lineups for this, but what we will do is we'll try to incorporate the stacking options and probably use some different teams that we did on the FanDuel one. And we will hold off, Josh, on the QB, the flex play, and the defense. So we can fill out everything but those three plays. We can give you guys suggestions. I think we gave you guys a few quarterback suggestions already, so you can mess around with those. We'll give you some good environments to play here, and one of them we didn't talk about yet that we should, and what I'd like to focus on first is this Minnesota and Cincinnati game. So I think this is going to be one of the more popular approaches in cash games this weekend. I think that not the quarterbacks, obviously, but Dalvin Cook sitting at 9,100 is definitely pricey. It's up there. He's one of the more expensive running backs on the slate, but he is actually probably in the best spot on the slate outside of James Robinson. So for me, I think that DraftKings salary pricing is a little bit tighter in week one, and it will be tighter as we move throughout the season. I'm going to go ahead and roster Dalvin Cook at 9,100 as a way to get this initial stack going. The idea behind this is because we'll talk about it in a second here as soon as he gets there. He is. The reason I say we're going to talk about Dalvin Cook and what we can do to kind of run this one back is that I think on both sides, but mainly DraftKings in specific, got their price tags extremely wrong on the Bengals skill players.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you. I mean, we know the upside that these guys have on this Cincy team with Burrow. I mean, I still remember that Monday Night Football game with Joe Burrow facing off against the Browns where you saw Burrow throw the ball like 50 plus times. It was insane. So like, even though there are three guys that can compete for the targets here, there's going to be plenty of passes for all these guys to get to value. So I like T. Higgins. I like Tyler Boyd. I like Jamar Chase this week. I think all three are in play.
Yeah, so I guess there's really not a price play here because they're all cheap, right? So is this a spot where, if we're building a tournament lineup, do we need Burrow? Because I don't think we do, first of all. And then second, maybe it's a spot where you take a risk on two of the three, or do you just think that we just need to do one piece of each team?
I think you do either or, right? Either you take Burrow with one of these guys or you end up taking two of them. My personal preference would be to take two of them, though.
Okay. So I think we can, between the two of us, I think we kind of see Jamar Chase as the odd man out. I don't think a lot of people are going to look at it that way. But I mean, maybe we're overblowing this domestic violence situation, but I don't want to get into it too much. But are we overreacting to it, you think? Or do you think that this actually does play a huge role on the field?
I think it could potentially play a huge role in the field. I need to see it though, right? Like I've been talking about it for ever since we got news about it. I don't really want to touch on it too much about the specifics about it. You can go look it up yourself if you have questions about it. But I need to see it affect him first. So I do think he is the odd man left out just because he was dealing with those drop issues during training camp and during the preseason. So I like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd more, but I certainly don't mind if you want to go Jamar Chase there.
Okay. So just for this sake, I think we go one person from each team and try to get some other pieces of this slate. Now, Josh, I just picked this first game. Do you have a second game that you want to move over to that we haven't covered yet?
Oh, geez. I don't kind of talked about all my stack options, man. Oh, this is a good one. Let's go. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go Pittsburgh and Buffalo.
Okay. Initial thoughts are, I think both of us agree that this is one of the most contrarian stack options, but could be a very, very exciting game to watch. Has fantasy goodness in it. Obviously, we know that the Steelers are a very, very tough defense, so that's the major concern there. But there are guys on this Buffalo team that are volume monsters, right? And some of them are matchup proof, and by some, I mean Stephon Diggs. But yeah, talk to me about where you would start on this stack and and how that affects the DraftKings build in general.
Yeah, so to start off in this, I think a guy that I really do like is going to be Naji Harris from Pittsburgh. 66,300 just seems like a bad price tag, honestly, for knowing the workload that he's going to get, knowing that he is a PPR option because he has been working on that pass catching so much in the offseason. I really like Najee Harris's odds to be a value in week one on both sides. We didn't get to talk about him on FanDuel, but he's cheap over there too.
100% agree. This is a guy that you're going to see. I don't know. For me, I'm very, very bullish on him. People are calling it the second coming of Le'Veon Bell in regards to fantasy production. I can get behind that, actually. I'm a little bit scared about the offensive line for Pittsburgh, but at the same time, he does provide an excellent floor of touches, as well as, there's not really any clear competition behind him like there normally would have been in the past. There's just a clear talent. He's the top dog, and he's going to be the top dog for what I hope should be a very, very long and profound career. So Najee Harris, 6,300. We're probably only going to see 2 or 3 slates with him under 6K or under 7K, and he could be a guy that's up in the range of the Camaras of the world, the Aaron Joneses, the Dalvin Cooks. So I like him quite a bit. And then running it back, let's talk about running it back with one of these Buffalo Bills players. And now I'm just going to click Diggs and see what this does for the rest of the build. Yeah, I'm probably not going to end up going here just for this example, because I want you guys to be able to build some competent teams with this. So if we go Diggs, we leave this with 4,300 per player, which on DraftKings sounds like not a lot. I mean, you can make things work, but you stretch it a little bit, even if you're paying minimum price for a defense, which I would suggest you do. And we'll be saying that a lot this season. So let's take Diggs out. We can talk a little bit about these Buffalo receivers. I'm actually kind of surprised Emmanuel Sanders played as much as he did in the preseason. I was keeping a close eye on all of this. And the one guy, though, Josh, Cole Beasley was himself, and he's going to be just fine this year. So I think you can roster Beasley a lot in a lot of tournament lineups for week one. The one guy I want to talk about, though, is Gabe Davis, because I think for one, he's way too cheap, right? And two, he's in a spot where he's 3,400, which is almost minimum price on DraftKings, in a spot where he can either be like, he's a guy that can either have a large ADOT, average depth of target, or he can be a guy that Josh Allen relies on to move the chains. I think he can be that guy. He's versatile, and if the Pittsburgh Steelers have any hopes of stopping the offense, I think that they're going to try to double team Stephon Diggs, and that could leave open guys like Cole Beasley, guys like Emmanuel Sanders, guys like Gabe Davis. We also know that as of last year, when Buffalo really started going pass heavy and going in those 4 wide receiver sets, they were using Gabe Davis in all of those sets. So I'm very high on Gabe Davis this year, and eventually one of these guys, whether it be Beasley or Sanders or even Diggs, if they get a hammy or if they are sit out, because they're all injury prone players, Gabe Davis is the guy that's going to be able to step up and make that thing happen. So I know that's a contrarian play, but it's a price saver in a spot where I expect Buffalo to be able to be pretty pass heavy at 3,400.
I love it, man. You know my love for Gabe Davis, so I'm 100% on board, especially at this price tag of 3,400. That's what DraftKings is all about. It's about finding these value wide receivers that can get you there to a winning lineup, and Gabe Davis.
Okay. So in short, both of us love Gabe Davis. That's exactly how that goes. Gabe or Cole, Kai asks. Yeah, I mean, you can go both, right? Like, there's a way that you can go both here. I think that there's definitely viable options here. Like, if you go Gabe Davis and Cole Beasley, it's about 8K, right? Which is, you're paying 1,000 more to get to Stephon Diggs. So I'm gonna check on Josh here and make sure we're all good. He should be back. Um, but yeah, that for me, that's the thing, right? Like, if you want Diggs at 76, he has immense upside, and I'm not gonna shit on that at all. But I do think that having him where he's at, where the rest of his receivers on his team are at, is something that needs to be noted. And that's why I kind of like Gabe Davis a lot in this spot. So yeah, I think that these guys, the Sanders and Beasley and even Davis, they're not going to sit in this range for more than a couple weeks because obviously DraftKings prepared for the tough matchup in week 1. But yeah, Josh, I was just saying that if you take Beasley and add him with Gabe Davis, I think that's a viable route to go. If you add the two together, that is exactly $7,800, so it's only $200 more than Stephon Diggs is. For me, I'm personally siding with taking the 2 wide receiver option over Diggs.
Yeah, same. I mean, we know how much that Josh Allen is going to pass the ball this year. We know that team doesn't trust in their running back situation, and you're going to see it certainly this year. I think you had the take that said Josh Allen is going to account for like 80% of this team's scored points,
Yeah.
which I find it hard not to believe, especially with how talented he is. So I like the double stack spot here with Gabe Davis and Cole Beasley. And more importantly, it gives you savings, right? Like it goes back to what I said before. For a wide receiver, you need to find those cheap options. And these are 2 guys that are great cheap options that are going to be GPP plays.
Agreed. So when you're looking at these first 4 picks, we have 2 mini stacks, 1 on each team here. I'm on the side of if we're running this whole thing and letting you guys fill out the rest, I think it probably is going to be important to take a directive here, right? So, Josh, what would be the first thing that you would look at with the amount of salary that you have left remaining? I don't think this is a spot where you can go Kansas City heavy. I would be honestly, this could be a build where you're going nobody from Kansas City. So, I guess give me your thoughts on that and see how you would get different in this spot.
So, in this spot, what I would try to do is, man, it's tough. I think attacking the San Fran side of that Detroit game is a strong way to do things if you don't plan on correlating, whether it be with Trey Sermon or Raheem Mostert. I think both of those guys are very heavily in play and both could end up having big days. I know we talked briefly about that Minnesota Cincy stack, but I think that one guy that got left out of the mix that Jared, you and I have talked about as one of the top GPP plays of the slate ends up being Adam Thielen.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Adam Thielen play, and it's just another guy to add on to that stack if you expect that game to be high scoring. And then you can go to one of the stacks that we talked about on FanDuel side, right? You still have the Jets and Carolina game, which I think is a good game stack. On DraftKings, I think it's almost necessary to lock in the Jags or the Texans. Actually, no, the Texans at 2,100 as your defensive play. I mean, it's especially in GPPs where it saves you a ton of money. You don't need them to do a lot. All they need to do is be positive, and you're probably going to be in a good spot. So I really like that Texans defense. We saw it all preseason, and maybe it's the Jags just wanting to be careful with their rookie and not wanting to give away too many of the plans. But I think that OC is a dunce, man. I think that he's honestly he was the worst option for the job, and you're gonna see it show. You're gonna see it show plenty of times this season.
Yeah. So don't look at this number, this 28 points per game number given up. Like Josh said. I think this is actually going to be one of the most popular plays on defense, and it's way too early to say that, but I have a pretty strong feeling that we're going to see them anywhere from 30 to 40% in cash games, which this just because there's no really solid options outside of them and a few others, but I think that at 2,100 you're not asking for much. Again, if they get you -1 points, it's -1 points, but what it does for the rest of your build is tremendous. So definitely think that you can do that. Let's see. I want to try to get you guys in a spot where you're going to be a little bit different. I think that so far, the Pittsburgh Buffalo game stack is definitely different. That's going to be standing out. Let's see. We didn't talk about Green Bay New Orleans at all. I don't think I necessarily want to go here, but it's worth talking about for a little bit before we wrap this stream up. But I want to talk about this game because we obviously are dealing with the South is dealing with the hurricane right now, and we got the news from the NFL that this game's going to be moved from New Orleans to Jacksonville. So they're going to be playing outside in September, which at that time of year is still in the high 90s every single day, with obvious chances of thunderstorms, and even I just think there's going to be a lot of weather issues in this one. I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's 90 and everything works out just fine. But Josh, I was just talking about like maybe additional games we could talk about, and in spots where they could stack. I think that Kamara is interesting at 8,600, and going with Devante is obviously the more expensive way to go. You won't be able to do that in this build, but I think that that's a very solid option. But for me, the cash game in me is just keeps screaming at Kansas City. So I think that that's where most of the field is going to go. But if you want leverage off of KC, and I think you go to this game in the afternoon. Let's look at another, because I don't think, Josh, we don't need to do another mini stack. I think going 3 mini stacks is relying on too much to go your way. So let's go ahead and let's roster the more contrarian of the running backs in the Niners organization in Trey Sermon as our flex, and we'll leave the tight end open as well as So we'll do that. So
Perfect. Sounds good. So wait, what else are we leaving open? Do we need one
well,
more pick here?
you can pick between a wide receiver or a tight end.
Okay. Let's go to. Oh, you left me with a tough choice here. Actually, I really just want to freaking play. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I know we didn't play. No, we did play him. Yeah, I'm gonna play him again. Let's lock in Corey Davis here at the other wide receiver spot. I
Okay.
couldn't remember if we played Corey Davis or Elijah Moore, because when we were talking about that stack, I originally put Elijah Moore in there, but
Oh,
we
nice.
ended up on Corey Davis.
Yeah, I like this price tag a lot for Corey Davis. It's actually probably more of a value on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel, even though the FanDuel price tag is under 6K. Uh, Guys, when you're playing DraftKings lineups, especially week one, this range is so juicy with these guys. I'll scroll down for you so you can see. Because I know we touched on the Bengals wide receivers, but honestly, you have so much more here. You have Laviska Shenault against Houston at 5K, which I love the chemistry there between him and Trevor Lawrence. I think that you can roster Jamar Chase. I think Mecole Hardman is fully in play at this price range. Corey Davis is right in this range as well. Then you have T. Higgins down here. You have, that's funny that Kiki's still in the player pool. Oh, wait, he's on it. Did he get signed by the Colts?
Did he?
Chat, did Kiki Kuti get signed by the Colts? Someone go check for us. That's actually amazing. So he's back in the league.
Let's go. Sean's new favorite team.
Yeah, I mean it is in his division, so he can be a Colts fan.
Yeah, why not?
You have Devante Smith, who we didn't talk about against Atlanta in his debut game, and then I mean I think Demarcus Robinson's in play too for tournaments for sure. So he signed to the practice squad. Okay, interesting. Good to know. I think that he will. I think that's interesting because the T.Y. Hilton move probably puts him on IR, so we could see Kiki actually be on the roster as early as week one. Let's see here, but yeah, it just goes to show even Michael Pittman is sitting at 4,100, entering a wide receiver one role. So like there's very a lot of guys in this range that are super cheap and viable. So yeah, more power to you on that Corey Davis play. Guys, we're gonna leave it at this. We have too many stacks. We have Corey Davis as well as Trey Sermon against the Lions. I think this is a fine tournament lineup. I know we didn't do what we did in the first example with FanDuel where we went a quarterback and paired them up, but you guys still have the option to pair a quarterback up with one of these players, whether you want to go Joe Burrow, whether you want to. I wouldn't roster Roethlisberger or Kirk Cousins, but I mean, Zach Wilson's in play. Let's actually check Zach Wilson's price. I'm kind of curious on what he is. Zach Wilson is 5K against Carolina, which I think is it's a fine play. You do need probably 20 points for him on DraftKings to even sniff tournaments, so that is kind of a lot for a guy that's making his debut in the NFL. But at the end of the day, I think that you can make that work if you want to get crazy in these builds. Because if you're making multiple lineups for a millionaire maker, you have to beat out 900,000 people, and the only way you're going to do that is to get different, right? So I think that going Jets here is a contrarian approach. And Josh, do you want to just comment on the whole? I think there's two games on this slate, and the Jets. So it's Jets Carolina, and the other one is the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the field is lower on those games than we are.
Yeah, you got to remember that there's going to be offense in both of these games. Especially in this Jets side. Like, I think that people are underestimating how much offense can be in this game. I mean, what's the over under on this game? Over at Bet Online, we have the over under set at 45. I don't know. I just feel like this game has all the writing on the walls of a shootout. Like, we saw Carolina get worse on defense over the offseason. I think, like I said, Robert Saleh will not do a good job with this Jets defense, at least for the first couple of years that he's there. So I think this is a game that could potentially have 50 plus points. And I think most of it comes from, Zach Wilson throwing the ball around a lot and from Christian McCaffrey. So like, it's nice that you can kind of pinpoint where a lot of this offense is going to come from both of these teams.
I totally agree. I think that for the most part, you know where things are going, and you can capture touchdowns pretty easily, especially on the Carolina side. I think that I don't think we'll be in the troll spot just yet with any of those guys. I think it's pretty clear cut. I'm interested to see how the Jets go, and I do wish your boy Saleh the best of luck. I don't know how you feel about that departure still. I actually don't know if I ever got your take on that.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I loved him as a DC, and I thought he had such a good connection with our players, but I'm happy he's getting the recognition that he deserves. I don't think things will turn out well for him in the first couple seasons, but I hope the Jets organization gives him a chance, because I think he could be a difference maker with that organization if he's given 3 or 4 years.
I agree. Bears hockey, Darnold, DJ Moore stack. Yeah, let's take a look at these price tags before we wrap things up here. And then we'll answer some more of you guys' questions. Just want to make sure we give you your due diligence for DraftKings content. Sam Darnold, I think that this is as clear of a revenge narrative as any of them. Like, there aren't very many real revenge narratives in the NFL. I think this is one of them, Josh. I know that I know the regime is different. I know that the head coach is different, but if I'm Sam Darnold, I would do everything in my power to just bury this team week one. And he's sitting at 5K, which is the same price as Zach Wilson. DJ Moore, I believe, is in the 6K range. 6,100. So, man, it could be a very, very interesting scenario. Him and Robbie Anderson both, they could just stick it to him at the same time.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even get him on FanDuel at 6,500. So, like, good price tags on both sites. Definitely a guy that I could see doing a lot of damage, and I think it's definitely a GPP play, but it's a good GPP play at that.
Yep, don't forget Terrace Marshall. He's also on that roster, the biggest slot wide receiver in the league. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's huge. Anyway, We'll wrap this up for you